Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 86. Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra. Text 49 and 50. 49. Satvam śādhi sva-bṛtyān kim deva karavāma etad-anto nṛṇāṁ kleśo bhavān akṣi-gocaraḥ tvam śādhi sva-bṛtyān kim deva karavāma etad-anto nṛṇāṁ kleśo bhavān akṣi-gocaraḥ tvam śādhi sva-bṛtyān kim deva karavāma etad-anto nṛṇāṁ kleśo bhavān akṣi-gocaraḥ Vaishnavis. He, tvam, you. Śādhi, please order. Swa, your. Bhṛtyān, servants. Na, us. Kim, what? Deva, O Lord. Karavāma, we should do. Hey, oh. Etat, having this. Antaḥ, as its end. nṛṇāṁ, of humans. Kleśaḥ, the troubles. Yat, that. Bhavān, your good self. Akṣi, to the eyes. Go-caraḥ, visible. Translation. O Lord, you are that supreme soul, and we are your servants. How shall we serve you, my Lord? Seeing you puts an end to all the troubles of human life. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chapter, Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra. The 86th chapter of the 10th canto begins in pain, but not material pain. When you understand that the spiritual world is full of varieties and is non-dual, then one can understand that there is pain on the spiritual platform, but it is blissful. There is pleasure on the spiritual platform, and it is blissful. This is what Advaya Gyan means, the knowledge of non-duality. There are varieties on the spiritual platform, but none of them have any material effect. Even pain is blissful. Pleasure is blissful. How did this chapter begin in pain? Pritchett Maharaj is sensing that Shukadeva Goswami is coming to the end of his narration of Krishna Leela. Now you might think, shouldn't Pritchett Maharaj be more preoccupied with his impending death? After all, he's been cursed to die in 7 days. Shukadeva Goswami being sensitive to Pritchett Maharaj's situation, because the king has been fasting from everything. Shukadeva Goswami says to him, would you like me to stop so you can drink some water? But to Pritchett Maharaj, this is a horrible request. What? Stop the flow of the Amrita, the nectarian talks about Krishna? Once before I made a mistake when I was thirsty. I'm not repeating that mistake again. Of course, for Pritchett Maharaj, there's no mistake. Everything happening to him is by the plan of the Lord. There are living entities, believe it or not, who want Kali Yuga. They find it highly desirable. In order for Kali Yuga to happen, Pritchett Maharaj has to leave. He can't be in this world. That's one reason why he has to go. The second reason is his departure provides the golden opportunity for Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken. So Pritchett Maharaj didn't want Shukadeva Goswami to stop his narration for anything. He's implying to Shukadeva Goswami, never mind about my thirst. In fact, how can I be thirsty when my ears are being filled with the nectar of Krishna's pastimes? Pritchett Maharaj's focus is on hearing every word from Shukadeva Goswami. And he senses we're coming to the end of the narration of Krishna's pastimes. This is painful. So he asks Shukadeva Goswami some questions. You've talked about several things, but you haven't talked about Krishna's sister's marriage to Arjuna. Keep going, keep talking. In case you overlooked this point, I'm reminding you, I'm just letting you know There's still more. This is greed in the perfect state. Bhakti yoga involves a greed that cannot be imagined or conceived of on the material platform. In my travels around the world, I often ask people, do you remember in your life when you were greedy? Think about what you were greedy for. Nothing that you were greedy for, that state of being greedy, nothing about it can compare to loyam, the greed for Krishna, for serving Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj is evidencing, he's showing that greed. And Shukadeva Goswami notices. Shukadeva commends Parikshit Maharaj earlier in the Bhagavatam. I see that everything I say about Krishna to you appears newer and newer, fresher and fresher at every moment. That is the proof that you're on the spiritual platform. Just like Srila Prabhupada explained about reading Bhagavad Gita. We might think, oh, Bhagavad Gita is the basic introductory book. But the real reader of Bhagavad Gita sees newer and newer lights, as Srila Prabhupada said, every time he or she reads it. It's like you never read it before. This is how to judge if we are losing our taste for material existence. When our taste for Krishna's pastimes, when our taste for hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita is such that every word seems ever fresh, then we know that we're starting to get out of the grip of the illusory energy. And Parikshit Maharaj was completely out of the grip of the illusory energy. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami noted these symptoms. This is one of the metrics for judging how one is becoming free from Maya. Shukadeva Goswami began to explain about the marriage of Subhadra to Arjuna. And then, suddenly, Shukadeva Goswami threw in something spontaneously that the acharyas point out wasn't really planned in his presentation. He started talking about Krishna's leaving Dwarka to visit King Bahulashva and the Brahmana Shrutadev. This is what happens in Bhagavatam. The more you hear it while rendering devotional service, the more you realize that Bhagavatam is an ecstatic presentation. Even when in the 5th canto Shukadeva Goswami is presenting the universe, still what he says is a product of ecstatic love. Sometimes in presenting Krishna Leela in the 10th canto, Shukadeva Goswami jumbles up the chronological order. Now, to the Western mindset, that's a great mistake. There's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. How can you put step 4 before step 2? That shows imperfection. That shows an error. But on the spiritual platform, there's no mistake. Because on the spiritual platform, there is pure ecstasy. When Shukadeva Goswami apparently gets the pastimes of Krishna out of order, it is not a flaw, because the Bhagavatam is the outpouring of ecstasy. Just like when Krishna went to visit Vidura for lunch. He'd already been invited by whom? Yes, and what was Duryodhana famous for? The best banquets, the best lunches, materially impeccable, sumptuous cooked by the greatest cooks, huge quantities. Everyone knew about Duryodhana's lunches. But Krishna didn't go, in spite of an invitation. Instead, Krishna went to Vidura's house, who was poor. He wasn't part of the royalty. How did Krishna go to Vidura's house? He ran, attracted by the bhakti there. And when it was time for Vidura and his wife to serve Krishna lunch, Vidura was in such ecstasy that he was serving Krishna the banana peels instead of the inside of the banana. And Krishna was eating the peels. Is that a mistake? From the material point of view, it is a mistake. But on the platform of pure bhakti, this is all about ecstatic love. So after Krishna left Vidura's house, there was still the matter of clarifying to Duryodhana why Krishna didn't come to Duryodhana's lunch. And naturally, a demanding, arrogant person like Duryodhana wanted to know, Krishna, where were you? You didn't show up for my lunch invitation. So Krishna explained to Duryodhana two things. That in order to eat, one has to be hungry. And also, in order to eat, the guest has to feel wanted. I didn't feel wanted and I wasn't hungry, so I didn't come. Did Vidura make a mistake? No. Shukadeva Goswami doesn't make a mistake. Sanatana Goswami explains in Krishna Lila Stava that every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is saturated with Krishna Prem. We want to see that more and more as we make advancement in spiritual life. But if we read Bhagavatam like it's an ordinary book, it'll take us a long time to become purified. But if we accept Bhagavatam through parampara as the manifestation of ecstatic love for Krishna, then we can understand why Lord Chaitanya says, before you are liberated, read Srimad Bhagavatam, and after you are liberated, go on reading Srimad Bhagavatam. This is what it's meant. This is what is meant when the Bhagavatam says, Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, eternally we're rendering service to Srimad Bhagavatam. So Shukadeva Goswami has apparently veered off course. He's starting to talk about Krishna visiting Bahulashva and Shrutadev. It's impromptu. It's just something that came out. Oh, by the way, now why did Krishna leave Dwarka to visit these two persons? Like so many other devotees, they could have gone to Dwarka to see Krishna. But the acharyas explain that both Bahulashva and Shrutadev felt we're too fallen to go to Dwarka. And also, we have our personal archana, our deity worship at home. We can't abandon that. And of course, the deity is non-different from Krishna. So they didn't go. But just to show how attached Krishna is to his devotees, Krishna decided to come to Mithila to visit those two. Now, this visit by Krishna to Mithila has a mystery to it, which we'll talk about later. Krishna doesn't go alone. He gets on his chariot and begins the journey. He's invited the sages to come with him, but he doesn't want the sages to walk. He tells them, if I ride on the chariot and you walk, by the time you get to Mithila, you'll be very exhausted. So all you sadhus, get on my chariot. So that was Narada Muni, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, Chaivana Muni, Brihaspati. They all got on Krishna's chariot, and he proceeded toward Mithila. On the way, he passed through many locations, and all the people crowded the road to have a glimpse at the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were drinking up Krishna's beauty through their eyes. In explaining this, Shukadeva Goswami became quite emotional, describing how these onlookers, watching as Krishna proceeded on his way to Mithila, how they were drinking up his beauty. There's a list of various locales that Krishna passed through on his way to Mithila. One is very mysterious. He went to Madhu. What does that mean? It means Mathura Vrindavan. What was Krishna doing there? By that time, to ordinary vision, all the Brijbasis had become unmanifest. Still, Krishna stopped in Mathura Vrindavan to participate in the Aprakat Leela, the unmanifest pastimes. You may remember earlier in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, there you find a mention in the Bhagavatam's presentation of Krishna's return to Dwarka, how sometimes Krishna would leave his capital city and visit Vrindavan. You get just a hint there. Also, when Krishna killed Dantavakra at the gates of the city of Mathura, for 2 months Krishna did a side trip to Vrindavan. So about 3 places in Bhagavatam's presentation of Krishna Leela you find that Krishna has slipped away to Vrindavan. Now he's on his way to Mithila. And upon his arrival, both Bahulashva, who's a king, and Shrutadev, who is a brahmana, both think Krishna's coming just for me. Now, this is not selfishness. This is not pride. I am so great, Krishna is only coming for me. No, it is part of the nature of love for Krishna that each devotee feels. Krishna is all mine. This is how magnanimous and expansive is love of Krishna. That although Krishna has unlimited devotees, each devotee feels uniquely special. King Bahulashva has all the power and majesty and royalty. Shrutadev is an austere living brahmana. He just gets enough to eat for one day. He doesn't keep anything in stock. Although the external occupations of Bahulashva and Shrutadev are so different, yet on the Bhakti platform they're equal. This shows you the real secret for unity. External affairs, activities may be different, but if the core of the heart is dedicating everything to Krishna, then regardless of class distinctions, wealth distinctions, you have genuine equality. Throughout the world now, you see a mad increase in body consciousness. It's not that it ever went away. After World War II, so many of the nations of the world got together and made the Declaration of Human Rights. The atrocities of the war were still fresh in everyone's mind. This is how the modes of nature work. There's passion, and that passion leads to anger, destruction, And then a little bit of sattva-gun reflection. Oh, we shouldn't have done that. 55 million people died, 33 million refugees. We'll never do that again. Bring all the nations of the world together. We'll all sign this Declaration of Human Rights, honoring all human beings. That mentality lasts for a short time. You know the term from the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, smashana vairagya, cemetery, crematorium renunciation. When there's some disaster resulting in the death of so many persons, or even just the death of one family member, at the burial place or at the crematorium, everyone is philosophical. Maybe you have experienced. Life is just a dream. You just don't know when it's going to end. Any moment, it all can come crashing down. People talk like that for a while. And then they leave. Next morning, time to go to work. Everything is back to so-called normal again. Some persons, however, those who are very atheistic and secular, they say that by seeing death, by going to funerals, by seeing, I've heard this even from emergency room staff at hospitals who are totally atheistic. They say that by seeing the mangled bodies coming in from auto accidents, it makes the staff more determined to enjoy. Because they explain, when you see death in such a horrible way in front of your eyes, it makes you realize how valuable each moment is that you have before death comes. You've got to enjoy more vigorously than ever before. This is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is night for one class of persons is day for the other, and vice versa. You would assume that everyone, universally, upon seeing some destruction, some death, they become very philosophical, introspective. What is the purpose of life? Who am I? No. For those whose intelligence has been spoiled by demonism, they get more inspiration for their hedonistic lifestyles. Oh, we can die at any moment. Let's enjoy our senses even more vigorously because it's all going to end. Let's become inspired by these deaths to squeeze every moment even more than before in order to enjoy the body and the senses. So after World War II, there was a moment of reflection. Never again. 55 million people dead, 33 million refugees. So supposedly, the nationalism, the body consciousness, the ethnocentrism, I am this body, you are that body. I am from this tribe, you are from that tribe. Supposedly that calmed down a bit. And the idea was that, especially in this global world, everyone should simply strive for economic prosperity, and that will bring about unity. When globalism, transnationalism covers the world, everyone understands, why make war? Simply everyone should just make money and gratify the senses. That is the formula for world peace. No program for purifying body consciousness. What is the actual difference between thinking, I am from this tribe, I am from this nation, or I am part of the global society? It's still body consciousness. One sounds a little more sophisticated than the other. Neither will lead to anyone's purification, whether you think you are this ethnic group, or you think, I am a citizen of the world, I identify with global culture. I meet many persons, younger persons from India who think in that way. We are not part of the whole Deshi thing. We are citizens of the world. We are flying here, there, London, Paris, New York. We are taking all cultures, all types of foods, all types of music. We are not village people. This is still body consciousness. Whether you identify by coming from a particular caste or a particular village, or you say, I am from the whole world, still, I am the body. So the mistake that human civilization has made is thinking that this globalism is a purification and actual progress, when it's the same old bodily conception of life. And how can there be true goodness when the mistake is there that through economic prosperity everyone will be satisfied? They'll realize there's no need to have war. Everyone will simply peacefully enjoy their senses. So what's happening now? Analysts in Europe have pointed out that all the same conditions exist in Europe now as right before World War II. As they say, back to square one again. Business as usual. The intellectuals are dismayed. Oh no. In so many countries of the world, extreme right-wing fascist types are becoming powerful politically. Haven't we been through this before? In other words, you should be modestly and mildly in the bodily conception of life. You shouldn't take it to an extreme. But who can control their senses? Who is there to decide this is too much body consciousness? This is just the right amount of body consciousness. Some sophisticated commentators of current events have moaned about what they call the rising tide of inward-looking nationalism. In other words, it's too much nationalism. If we have less body consciousness, that's okay, but it's becoming too much now. Well, are you the body or are you not? As long as there's a fundamental mistake in the beginning, everything that precedes will be a mistake. So now all over the world, you have this upsurge of, we are this body, you are the other body. We don't want your body in the land of our bodies. Let's build a wall. All over the world this is happening. Some people are very dismayed. Oh no, here we go again. But they have no solution. All they can say is, you're too much identifying with the body. That's the problem. You are the body, but you're too much identifying with your particular type of body. We should be the body in a universal way. Now you can see there's actually been no human progress. Despite all the gadgets, technology, there has been no real human progress. It's back to the same old thing again. Let's fight. You have a different body. We want your body out of our country. There was never any real unity. The idea that economic prosperity would bring people together is completely false, because how can the illusions of the bodily conception of life actually bring unity? The only hope that the global analysts have now is Even though people are hating like never before, even though the body consciousness, the ethnic consciousness is increasing everywhere, still, because there's so much economic interdependency in the world, that will stop the war. That's their hope. Because all the economies are so linked together, therefore, in spite of such ignorance and passion, there'll be peace. It's not going to happen. We look at the example of Bahulashva and Shrutadeva. One is a majestic king. The other is a very simple living brahmana who doesn't stock food for the next day. Yet Krishna is coming to see both of them. Each one, Bahulashva and Shrutadeva, thinks Krishna's coming especially for me. But as we pointed out, that attitude is not pride, egotism. They're just feeling the exclusiveness of love for Krishna. Love for Krishna does that. It makes each devotee feel Krishna is mine. And when the attitude of mamata is there, possessiveness, that increases the feeling that Krishna is mine. If you're in servitude, you think Krishna is my master. He's my boss. If you're in friendship, you think Krishna is our friend. If you're in parental love, Krishna is our dependent. And if you're in conjugal love, Krishna is our lover. What did Krishna do upon arriving in Mithila? Each of these great devotees was wanting, Krishna, please come to my home. One has a palace, the other has a very simple dwelling. What does Krishna do? He expands himself into two, and he also causes the sages to become two. Krishna and the band of sages go to Bahulashva's house and Shrutadeva's house simultaneously. And each, Bahulashva and Shrutadeva, think, I've got Krishna all for me. He didn't go to the other's house. In fact, the way Krishna's yoga maya, his pastime energy, works is that when Bahulashva's neighbors would go look at Shrutadeva's house, they would see a Shrutadeva outside the house lamenting, Krishna didn't come. Krishna didn't come. And when Shrutadeva's neighbors looked at Bahulashva's palace, they saw a Bahulashva outside the palace lamenting, Krishna didn't come. Krishna didn't come. So this way, Krishna's managing the whole scene. In today's verse, we see the attitude of the perfect servant. O Lord, you are that supreme soul, and we are your servants. How shall we serve you? My Lord, simply seeing you puts an end to all the troubles of human life. Remember Queen Kunti's prayer. Krishna, when we're seeing you, we're no longer seeing birth and death. Therefore, the important thing is not any so-called calamities. The important thing is seeing you. Because not seeing you is the real calamity. But as long as we're seeing you, that means the end of repeated birth and death. That means the end of the real calamity. So let the so-called calamities come again and again, as long as we are seeing you. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, during the search for who is the greatest devotee, the Pandavas were presented as the best devotees. What were they doing when their particular love for Krishna was being analyzed in comparison? What were they doing? They were plotting. We have to create some problem so that Krishna will stay with us. We've got to come up with some reason. We've got to come up with some crisis. We've got to manufacture some kind of incident. Again, because seeing Krishna means we're no longer seeing any problems. So the real problem is whether we're seeing Krishna or not. The real problem is not the so-called calamities of this world. Just like when the Japanese were forecasted to bomb Calcutta during World War II. Srila Prabhupada remembers going out in Calcutta with a Harinam party. And how did he explain that? He said, first of all, because we're chanting Harinam, Krishna will save us from any bombs. But even if the bombs come and we are killed, we are chanting Hare Krishna, we remember Krishna, so we win either way. That is a vision of a devotee. As Queen Kunti prays, Apunar Bhavadars. Seeing you, we no longer see repeated birth and death. That is real progress. That is real advancement. One thing we should note is that on Krishna's journey from Dwarka to Mithila, how did the people actually see him? You can't see Krishna without his permission, especially since the Acharyas point out Krishna's chariot was going at the speed of wind. But because Krishna gave the onlookers his mercy, they were able to see him passing by. Otherwise, not possible. This is sometimes a little difficult for us to understand because so-called civilization today has given us a false sense of, I can see it, therefore I know what is fact, what is not fact, I see. Whereas Vedic civilization is based on the fact that actually you don't see. Without the permission of the Supersoul, what can you actually see about the spiritual reality? Even your material vision, what you know, what you don't know, it's all based on what the Supersoul in your heart allows you to perceive. So you might think automatically, as Krishna's proceeding on his chariot from Dwarka to Mithila, everyone saw him? No, it wasn't automatic. They were empowered by Krishna to see him. Let's look at the attitude of Shruta-Dev. We are your servants. How shall we serve you? This is pure bhakti. Not, we are your servants, and we like to serve you in a certain way, so please accept that. That's karma yoga. As Srila Prabhupada explains, there's a very subtle difference between karma yoga and full bhakti. Karma yoga means you'll offer the results to Krishna, but you're attached to acting in a certain way. I think I've explained before. Maybe some of you didn't hear. In the early days of ISKCON, this is 1973, I remember at the New York Temple. Every week, at least 5 new devotees would join the temple. And each one knew exactly what he wanted to do for Krishna. Each one knew exactly how he or she was going to serve Krishna. There was no doubt. They all came with guitars on their back, and I'm a musician. I will make music for Krishna, and in that way I'll spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So what is the temple management going to do? practically every new devotee who walks in the door has the idea, I just want to make music. Before I came to the temple, I was just on the verge of making it big. They all say the same thing like that. I was just about to be so famous, but then I decided to join the temple and I'll make music for Krishna. That's what Krishna wants. So how can the management go on if everyone has their own idea? This is what Krishna wants me to do. I know. I was speaking with His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj yesterday and Shesha Prabhu, and we were discussing, when is it that the management starts to have problems? How is it that a manager starts to become unpopular? Of course, I know it's not like this here, but in other places, what does a manager do to become unpopular? And when is it that the management starts to cause problems? As soon as it makes a decision. Soon as you're a manager, as soon as you make a decision. So therefore, we were discussing how without the managers having the support of the sadhus, it's very difficult. Without getting support from the senior Vaishnavas, because it's natural that management involves making decisions which are sometimes difficult, the management needs support. So here you have so many new devotees joining the New York Temple in 1973, all coming with long hair, backpacks, and a guitar. How are the temple activities going to go on? You have to convince them. Yes, we understand that you are the next George Harrison. We accept that. But we do need someone to wash the pots. Please make music in that way. I remember I was a 3-week devotee. I moved into the temple. They allowed me to move in even though I was chanting 13 rounds a day, not 16, but they allowed me to move into the temple. And I had an idea what I was going to do. I was going to just read Bhagavatam most of the day and just chant Hare Krishna, Kirtan. I had my life figured out. And after one Saturday, after being in the temple 3 weeks, I went out on a nṛṇāṁ party, and during the nṛṇāṁ party on the streets of New York, I saw there was a box of Back to Godhead magazines, so I just took some Back to Godhead magazines and approached the people, and maybe 10 persons bought magazines. When I got back to the temple president came to meet me and said, "You sold 10 magazines on Harinam today. You are a full-time Sankirtan devotee." I said, "Oh no." That is not my nature. I came to this society of devotees pursuing the greatest literature, the greatest books. I just want to read them all day. No, you are a full-time Sankirtan devotee. Back then, full-time Sankirtan devotee meant 7 days a week. You would go from 9 in the morning on weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 in the morning, and then you get back to the temple 7 in the evening. And then Friday and Saturday night, you go from 9 in the morning till 9 at night, and then because it was the time when there were so many big concerts in the USA in arenas of 20,000, 25,000 persons. You would then go to concerts and distribute there and get back to the temple at 3 a.m. in the morning. That was Friday and Saturday night. And I remember we were, for 2 years at least, we never asked the temple president. We came in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Is it all right if we could take rest? Oh, that was Maya. Because I take rest at 3 a.m. Mongol Artis at 4:30. Are you crazy? You want to take rest? It's Maya. So, we go to Mongol Arti, try to get a couple of hours sleep, and then out the door again. What about Sunday? Sunday, the senior devotees came around. Okay, which Sankirtan devotee, which book distributor is in Maya? Who wants to come back for the Sunday feast? I'm not in Maya. I don't want to come back for the Sunday feast. So it was quite austere. But my point is that karma yoga means you are attached to serving Krishna in a certain way, even though you'll give Krishna the results. Now, let's not condemn karma yoga too much, because the fact is most devotees should be looking up to karma yoga, not down at it. Still, full bhakti is something else. Full bhakti means you're not attached to the results, and you are not attached to what you do. It's simply whatever Krishna wants, however Krishna wants it. Today's prayer is, we're your servants, how shall we serve you? This is the standard that we want to come to. And in fact, that is the standard demonstrated in its most intense way by the greatest devotees of Krishna. As Lord Chaitanya has certified, Ramya Kachchit Upasana Vrajavadu Vargeniya Kalpita. There's no better way of serving Krishna than that demonstrated by the cowherd women of Vrindavan. Today we are celebrating Sharat Purnima. We spoke about how Krishna, on his way from Dwarka to Mithila to see King Bahulashva and the Brahmana Shrutadev, he stopped in Madhu, he stopped in Mathura Vrindavan. And even though the Brijbasis had disappeared from ordinary vision, Krishna entered the unmanifest pastimes. Or, looked at another way, Krishna is always present in the uppercut lila, the unmanifest pastimes. And then he came to Mithila. When we think of Sharat Purnima, we get insight at the deepest level into how Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Shukadeva Goswami, in a nutshell, gives us such insight into this most confidential pastime. Bhagavan apitaratri. First of all, before you hear anything about Krishna's Rasa Leela, you should know he's Bhagavan. So you all know the standard definition of Bhagavan, the possessor of unlimited opulences. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj gives you a more intimate understanding of Bhagavan. He talks about a quality of Krishna is known as Swaraja Lakshmi. That means Krishna is independent in terms of his desires. How does that independence in his desires manifest? He has unlimited desires. This is inconceivable for us. How many desires can you calculate that you have? It's difficult getting past 10. But who is this person with unlimited desires? But not only does Krishna have unlimited desires, he has the unlimited ability to satisfy each of his unlimited desires. That is bhagavān. So Shukadeva Goswami first wants us to understand, you're not dealing with an ordinary person. You're dealing with someone who has unlimited desires and the unlimited ability to satisfy all those desires. Krishna is like that. Yet and still he sees the night of the full moon. And he remembers 10 months earlier what happened. He had promised the young gopis, there'll come a night when we will meet. He promised them that. He said very soon. He didn't want them to feel distressed, so he made sure they understand very soon. It was actually 10 months later. Is Krishna cheating? No. An important ingredient of ecstatic love is anticipation. That's why love of Krishna in separation is the actual goal of our sampradaya, not meeting Krishna. Because the love in separation has that sense of anticipation. When will we be with Krishna? So Krishna told the cowherd girls, very soon we'll meet. Your desires will be fulfilled. Although actually it was 10 months later. So with great reluctance, the cowherd girls went back to Vrindavan. It was very difficult for them to tear their eyes away from staring at Krishna's form. But now that night has come. Krishna is deliberating. He's considering. Look at the circumstances. Look at me. I've just entered my Kaishore age. Look at the moon in the sky at night, turning the horizon reddish. Sharadotpala Malika. The jasmine flowers usually don't bloom in autumn, but for me they are doing that. This is a perfect night, providing the perfect circumstances for the Rasa Leela. So you're getting insight into Krishna's enjoying deliberations. He's thinking about it. Viksharantam manur chaksa. He's considering in his mind. Turning it over in his mind. Look at all these udipanas, these stimulants for ecstatic love. How can I resist? Everything is just lined up perfectly for my pleasure. Therefore, yoga mayam apashrita. I'll take shelter of my internal potency and arrange the most beautiful pastime for dancing. If the Supreme Absolute Truth is perfect and complete, there must be romance. There must be loving affairs. Otherwise, how is it that in our material existence there's romance, there's loving affairs? It has to come from the ultimate source. Otherwise, Krishna is not perfect and complete. Do we actually think that Krishna is simply meant to receive our prayers? Oh, Krishna, please send me a good wife. Please send me a good husband. Please give me a happy marriage. And Krishna has no pleasure of his own? Is he simply the object of our prayers? Make me happy in my romance. Not knowing about Krishna's loving affairs, you'll actually feel sorry for God. What does God do? He creates, He maintains, He destroys. And what do? We have romance. There must be conjugal affairs in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Otherwise, how can those conjugal affairs be in our life? Of course, Krishna's conjugal affairs have nothing to do with the material energy. In traveling around the world and speaking to various audiences, I don't usually say this in India, but because it's here at Chowapatty, I will deviate. Do you know, scientists with their statistical analyses, they have calculated statistics for everything these days because so much data can be crunched. Do you know what is the global average for the duration of romantic affairs, romantic feelings, in case you are inclined in that way? The global average is 17 months. That means, average means some can be more, some can be less. But 17 months where your head is spinning and then it's gone. And scientists will tell you that that feeling, that romantic feeling, is set off by so many neurochemicals. In other words, it's a material experience in which the chemistry of the brain has such a great effect. We're trying to imitate Krishna. But if we actually understand what are Krishna's loving affairs, upon actually understanding that, we'll end our false attempt to imitate Krishna. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book that anyone who actually truly understands Rasa Lila cannot engage in sense gratification. If you actually understand. Parikshit Maharaj wants to make sure that we actually understand. Therefore, he asked Shukadeva Goswami a key question about Rasa Lila. The gopis attained perfection simply by thinking of Krishna. They didn't know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They simply thought he's their lover. Does that mean anyone who thinks of their lover gets the supreme destination? A skillful question. Because some persons think, whatever you think about, it's all the same, it's all one. So Parikshit Maharaj wants to clarify that although the living entities are qualitatively equal with Krishna, still, quantitatively, there's a difference that can never be erased. Thinking about Krishna is special. When Krishna plays his flute, he's playing it in such a way, he has special ragas that he plays. These ragas are especially meant for loving affairs with his girlfriends. Only they can hear the flute, meaning only they can hear these special ragas. And you know what happens. Because the nighttime circumstances are perfect, and then Krishna starts playing his flute, who can resist? The gopis feel like someone has stolen everything from them. A thief has confiscated everything, even their shyness, even their feelings of reserve. It's all gone. Stolen merchandise. So they race out to the forest to reclaim their life, their modesty, their restraint. It's all been taken away by the sound of the flute. This is Krishna fulfilling their desires. According to the circumstances by which each gopi left her home. That shows varying degrees of attachment for Krishna. Some, Shukadeva Goswami describes, were boiling milk on the stove. Others were milking cows. Others were putting something in the oven. More intensely attached than them were those who were in the midst of family affairs, taking care of their husband, taking care of their nephews, because technically none of the gopis at that point had children. So whatever children they were taking care of were the children of someone else, brother or sister. So those who were more deeply immersed in family affairs, they showed more surrender to Krishna by suddenly dropping it all and racing out into the forest. More surrender to Krishna than those who were just boiling milk or milking a cow. Because it's very difficult to give up your family affairs when your family members are right there and suddenly you run away. The most intense love for Krishna was shown by those who couldn't dress themselves properly with jewelry or clothes. This is a symptom of ecstatic love called vibhrama. Total bewilderment which causes wrong dressing, wrong decorations. The bottom clothes go on the top clothes go on the bottom, everything in disarray. Who cares? Out to the forest. When we consider how Krishna is the master of time and place, we appreciate him as a supreme enjoyer. We think, Krishna, you couldn't have picked a better night than this. It's all meant for your pleasure. The breezes that are blowing, the jasmine flowers that are blooming out of season, the moonlight illuminating the forest. This is the perfect time for you to be with the most beautiful women. Girls who will make the Lakshmi Devis in Vaikuntha look less attractive. Girls who will make the demigoddesses in the heavenly planets look unattractive. And what to speak of the ladies on earth. Sorry. This is all for Krishna. He is fulfilling his promise to his dearest devotees. We will be together. And each of those devotees racing out to the forest to be with Krishna will have a chance to feel that Krishna is looking at me, Krishna is with me. Just as Bahulashva and Shrutadev thought, Krishna is only with me. The pastimes of opulence, Aishvarya Leela, have their particular flavor. The pastimes of sweetness have their particular flavor. Krishna is perfect and complete. He enjoys in all ways. Nevertheless, it is the devotees who are attached to him in sweetness that so amaze Krishna that he himself wants to understand. What's it like to be a devotee so in love with me? What's the sweetness that such devotees are tasting? And particularly, what is the position like of Krishna's dearmost devotee, Srimati Radharani? The Acharyas point out that during the Sharat Purnima, when Krishna was looking at the moon, the full moon in the sky, he was seeing the face of Srimati Radharani. It is that person that so intrigues Krishna that Krishna wants to come in her position, take on her emotions, to understand what's it like. Therefore, you have the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Radha and Krishna are eternally two, but they have eternally become one as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Krishna wants to be the supreme enjoyer, he comes as Krishna. When Krishna wants to taste feelings of separation, he comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The two are eternally coexistent. Loosely we say that Lord Chaitanya is the golden avatar, the incarnation of Krishna. But actually, both Lord Chaitanya and both Krishna are Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead. So therefore you can say, when Lord Chaitanya wants to be the supreme enjoyer, he comes as Krishna. And when Krishna wants to taste feelings of separation, he comes as Lord Chaitanya. They are coexistent. Therefore we say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanya. Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined. By approaching Lord Chaitanya through parampara, only then can we get a glimpse into Radha Krishna pastimes. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand. Why is there so much confusion in India about who is Krishna? Why is there so many impediments in understanding Krishna's Gopi Leela, the Rasa Leela? It's because of not approaching Krishna through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age of Kali, without going through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is practically impossible to properly understand Krishna. And so you may wonder, why this confusion about Krishna? India is the land of Krishna, but no one seems to get it straight. They don't understand. They don't seem to understand at all. That's because of not going through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But you all are understanding Krishna in truth because you are approaching Krishna through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself personally allowing you to understand Krishna. Let us be grateful to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Panchatattva, for allowing us to actually understand a glimpse of Rasa Leela, the glories of Sharat Purnima. Ordinarily, we have no merit. We don't deserve such an opportunity. Yet, in the most degraded age, the most precious jewel has descended. In circumstances in which people can't even understand the ABCs of spiritual life, that they're not the body. The worst possible circumstances, the highest understanding and experience has descended. How could we ever think that Krishna is not merciful? As this day proceeds, let us increase our gratitude. We have some insight into what is actually Krishna's Rasa Leela. Even in Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada has presented Rasa Leela so non-devotees can read it and not make offenses. That is such an accomplishment. That's inconceivable. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, those books are meant for mass distribution. And all of Krishna's pastimes are there, even Rasa Leela. But the Leelas are presented in such a way that no one can make offense. Even a total newcomer to Bhakti, even a meat eater, breaker of all the religious principles, can open a Krishna book and read Rasa Leela and understand Krishna is not an ordinary person. We cannot estimate the vastness of this contribution, how unparalleled it is. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say that one of the few advantages that Westerners have is that they don't know anything about Krishna, therefore they won't impose any preconceptions. And one of the few disadvantages of being in India and hearing about Krishna is what? We know everything about Krishna. In either case, east or west, north or south, we're all indebted to Srila Prabhupada for clarifying who is Krishna to such an extent that we have an accurate presentation of Rasa Leela, that the whole world can appreciate, whether you were born here or there. I remember first reading the Krishna book. Lost in the material energy. I started reading and I got to Rasa Leela. I said, this is God? I've never read anything like this before. I never heard anything like this before. The supreme enjoyer? I always thought that was me. I was sure it was me. I'm born in New York. I have to be the supreme enjoyer. But I've never read anything like this in my life. And this Swami, whose name I can't pronounce, says that this Rasa Leela has nothing to do with the material energy? What's going on here? Let us also express our gratitude today to Srila Prabhupada for clarifying throughout the whole world who is Krishna, who is Radha, what is Rasa Leela, so that no one makes offense. We are grateful to Lord Chaitanya. We are grateful to Srila Prabhupada. And in the society of devotees, as Lord Kapila Dev says, hearing about Krishna increases its flavor and potency. Satam prasangan mama vir samvido. We need each other, because by hearing about Krishna, when we're all together, the taste increases, the power increases. You have a wonderful day planned today, glorifying Shuddha Purnima. I'm very grateful to get the opportunity to try and do a little service for you all by attempting to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam this morning. Thank you very much. Should we take questions? All right, one question. Who has the best question? Or it's the best, okay.
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful class. Accept my obeisances. You told that day and day we have to increase our gratitude, but this is not happening. If someone do some small service to us, we are not giving that much gratitude. So, for Supreme Personality of Godhead, how can we give gratitude day and day increasing?
If we're going to thrive in the association of devotees, we need to be grateful. Because as soon as we stop being grateful for the association of devotees, we'll find faults. But the more we express gratitude for our devotee associates, the more our spiritual vision increases. We start to see how glorious the devotees are. How can we see the glories of Krishna without seeing the glories of the devotees? This is another thing that Krishna explained to the Brahmana Shruta. The Brahmana Shruta, along with his family, was glorifying Krishna. But Krishna told him, what about the Brahmanas? Without glorifying the Brahmanas, how can anyone actually approach me? So our gratitude begins with the devotees. And we're very eager and clever about getting opportunities to serve devotees. You can use all your skills, all your strategies, how to do that. It's the real sport. Better than cricket. Start meditating on it. How am I going to render service to the devotees? Because they don't generally like it. They don't want to be served. They want to serve you. So you have to be very expert. I remember I was visiting His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj at Gita Nagari. And so he was sleeping in one room and next to the room I was sleeping in. And so they had given me like a mat and blankets on the floor. So I would get up in the morning, take a shower, and then I would come back and the mats would be gone. They'd be rolled up nicely in the corner. So I was wondering what's going on here. So that happened the first morning, the second morning. The third morning, I decided I'm going to see who's doing this. So I said, someone is waiting until they hear that I'm in the shower, and then they're rolling up the bedding. So what I did was I turned on the shower, and then I came out of the bathroom into the bedroom, and there I saw Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj disappearing around the corner. He had a very athletic body, so very gracefully and stealthily he had rolled up the bedding and was just disappearing around the corner of the bedroom, and I got a glimpse of him as just his feet as they went out the door. So you have to be a little clever, you know. It takes strategy, tactics. This is real sport. So I'm sure that you'll become fascinated by contemplating opportunities to do this. One has to have an appetite for this, you know. And it takes divine vision to see opportunities for serving devotees. It's not an ordinary thing to see such opportunities. So then you start begging Krishna, please allow me to see the opportunities for serving devotees. And that's the real wealth in life. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.